All right, to start off, one of the things that confused me about the last 2 days as well, this looks a little bit better. Sam says, good afternoon. I know we're at 5 o'clock, so we're finally getting into it, but good afternoon to you, Sam, too. Market's up, but VXX is not going down. Isn't it funny? VXX 25 should probably be below 20. I agree. And yesterday, we saw the markets up slightly, and the VIX was up as well, as was UVXY. Also yesterday. Came down a little bit today, 1.4%. VIX dropped a lot. VXX pulled back a little bit. Always makes me nervous when we're in these sort of warning zones. And yes, we have a question about the market sentiment too that we'll get to in a little bit. But when I see the broad-based indexes, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and SPX up, and I see the VIX up on the same day like we did yesterday, always makes me a little bit hesitant of some things. Okay. All right. So here we are at Power Options. Those of you just getting started on a trial, I do always want to remind you to take advantage of the 4 steps that are listed. William says, my question is regarding the market sentiment indicator. When it's a sell or a bearish signal, do you A, reduce the capital you allocate to your 2-week bull put strategy? Most likely, William, yes. I'll likely cut that in half when opening positions on Monday. I did not for this cycle. I had the full 15% or so, William, of my portfolio allocated to the 3 bull puts that expire today. Next week, you're right, though. I'll probably reduce that down to 10% or 7.5%. Okay. Now, you also say, B, make any adjustments to reduce the capital you've allocated to your married put positions. No. I don't reduce the capital in my married put positions when I start to see the sell warning. Right? When the sell warnings start to come up, and the market is peaking. Now, a couple of these have been closed out already. This is, remember, the webinar account. I don't have it updated as much. But a good thing for me to do now, I already have a call open on it, William. But if my position on Fabrinet was I was still holding, I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm out to October. I'm holding the October 70 put, let's say. I'd be selling 70 or 75 calls, which I did. My actual position now is I'm in a collar with a 75 September call and I believe a 75 October put. Once I started to see the sell warnings and the stock was at 73. Okay. Why? Because when I create the collar and I sell that higher strike call, if it pulls back, that works in my favor. I've already got the put in place. It helps that this position's bulletproof, William, but that's the key. Craft is bulletproof as well. I'm actually in the 37.5 put. As I mentioned, I haven't updated this. The Yandex position, the put is much different and also bulletproof. So I'm not reducing it. When I see the sell warnings, I may buy a put, an additional put, one of the income methods in the blueprint, or do an income method number 6 or an income method number 1. Okay. And it said, or reduce the capital to allocate to your married put positions. Conversely, when it's a bullish buy or very bullish buy, do you allocate more capital to your strategies? Not to the bull puts. I'll never go above 15% on the bull puts, William, or the 10% or 15% that I'm comfortable with at the time. When I see a light buy warning, as we did the last time, that's when I start opening new married put positions, new collars, speculating on the long calls that are maybe 3-4 months out in time on quality stocks that seem depressed. And we talked about Apple, Microsoft, much like we talked about at the end of March and beginning of April with the presentation sort of what are the market conditions now and what Ernie's looking for. I'm going to get a better presentation on this. I was trying to work on it this week, but I had to do some other projects in line. But that great question that came in, was it from William last week? The great question that came in about the individual indicators, I want to go through and do a full presentation that shows the new graph and how to use it, discussion of the sentiment indicators, a brief review of each of the indicators, brought up a good point, what is the SPX gap over the SMA 20 and so forth. So I want to briefly define each of the 13 criteria, how the fences are set, and then even in the help video here, I believe, the Market Sentiment Tool, we do discuss in this presentation what my and Ernie's approaches are when we see the sell warnings appear. What do I do if I have covered calls, married puts, credit spreads, when I start to see the bearish sell warnings? What do I do if I start to see a light buy warning with my existing married puts, my covered calls, or other strategies as well? That's briefly talked about in there. But yes, William, I want to give it a more full presentation, a good short help video first, and then the more in-depth video following that. So 5 minutes of what this tool is, and then maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the individual indicators and what to do, what we do, how we use it. This doesn't mean that, we see the bear sell warning, so let me pop that up again, the history. This doesn't mean it's going to happen in 3 days or 5 days or 10 days. But as you can see here in the graph, that new graph we added last week, you can see that when you start to get those bearish sell warnings, that starts to trigger. Okay, you start to see these. This is SPY. The blue is SPY. So you start to see those, and you get that. You start to see them in this range. You get that. That's the February 5th through 9th, 2018. This one here was that little hiccup in March and April. Yeah, March to April of, no, that was here. I'm sorry. That was this one here. Hard to see. I apologize. And then the one later, I'm sorry, after April, I believe was June, was that quick drop there. May to June, March to April, that was in 2018. So you can kind of see that when these triggered, you do typically see a drop. So yes, I'm not cutting back what I'm doing on my married puts because most of them are bulletproof, and I'm selling premium to do that as well. And in that case, also, that's what I'm preparing for. Allocate less to the bull puts. You're absolutely right. I may even go further out of the money. Now, I told you that I might be opening 3 new positions, William, for the bull puts on Monday. If the market opens up down 3-4% on Monday, I'm not opening bull puts. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to step back, hesitate, and wait. Okay? All right. So that's just a brief answer, William, to your question. And we'll look for a video that's more in-depth in there as well.